When it comes to platformers, I have a somewhat on and off history with them. Some of the best games I've ever played were platformers, but the genre also holds some of the most frustrating games I've played as well. Each genre has its good and bad. Some exacerbate the anger and frustration one can feel from platformers to fighting games or competitive multiplayer games in general. Nowadays we have a lot of different games that satisfy different parties, but there has been for quite some time a sense of workification with games. In workplace environments or just personal pursuits, we've seen some people try to gamify the experience. In games though, the workification comes from breaking the game apart or finding all manners of builds or strategies just to immediately get good at the game. Resources to become a pro at something, basically. For some people, it's a worthy goal, but for others, it's not a game anymore at that stage, it's just work. But this game here, Himno, is anything but. Sometimes you just hit a breaking point with an experience, something you've enjoyed in the past, but one setback after another, your state of mind no longer accommodating for that drive to go forward. Eventually you just say fuck it and quit and take a step back. Sometimes instead you just want to relax without the need to get better. Just turn your brain off and let it sleep while you enjoy the casual and calming session. Himno is a game that was made for that very same purpose, where you had nothing to worry about and you could just explore about the place to your heart's content, without all the stress of other platformers like 1001 Spikes or Super Meat Boy, where precision and quick timing is needed. I myself have had withdrawals with games that I usually enjoy, but then I get to a stage where a change is really needed, or just something more casual and easygoing is needed. I found that sense of relief in quite a few games, and I found it with Himno. Lots of people play games for a variety of unique reasons, and this game focuses on one principle, and it's that it's meant to be a game, not another layer of work to overload your exhausted state of mind. With just the freedom of movement and the lack of death, Himno helps relax the player into a pacifistic world that was quite literally made to de-stress the developer of this small free game. At one point, circumstances were piling up stress, and during the developer's spare time, he would make this game. The process of making it helped declutter the mind, and the playable state would eventually lead to a release on Steam for free, where other players could reap the same benefits after a difficult day. It's a platformer that doesn't piss me off, so in that way, it's already working. So what does this game have? Well, you play as a silent protagonist that seems to find themselves in an endless underground network, with water at the bottom and a chain of blocks, lights and torches that you set ablaze for visibility. You start off in District 1. To get out, you find another district that you find through doors, that has its own randomly generated layout. As far as I know, it's an infinitely generated experience, so for those that are looking for a beginning and an end, well, it ends in two ways. One, when you fall into the water and have to start your run again, or when you close the game. As you explore the procedurally generated districts, you find other lights that you can obtain based on your level, that you get for finding gold or leaving the level. It doesn't take long to unlock all the different lights, and each of them have different patterns and functions. One that I found would guide me towards the exit door, and I found that one to be the most helpful one so far. The effects for them, however, are temporary, so if you want to use it again, you'll have to find another one once it runs out. You have a pretty smooth control scheme for the platforming. You have lifts, you have wall jumping, dashing, sliding to help elevate you to higher planes, and also large boosters that you can find that do the same thing. It plays like a standard platformer, but it's not trying to be innovative or anything. It's just a game with a simple mission, to be a peaceful platformer that relaxes the player, nothing more. On the topic of it being peaceful, the game also has a feeling of isolation that never really goes away unless you count the lights for company. You don't even have enemies to populate the area, or the ability to fight. Your character does have a sword, but we never get to use it in this game. Instead, the character just peacefully jumps from one district to another on an infinite scale. Its minimalistic and dark background is soothing, coupled with a mirage of pretty lights, the soothing water that ends your run, and of course, the music. The music is very much on the ambient side of things, but intensifies depending on your actions. I like that the soundtrack dynamically responds to what you are doing during your run. It can be uplifting as you continue progressing, or just nice and calm while you're exploring the place. It's a game where you're on your own, meditating in an infinite cave, reaching an unknown destination. The game fixates your brain to just jump around and have fun, and there aren't really that many platformers that have the same sort of goal. Sure, the game does allow for personal challenges to see how many districts you can visit before you fall off or something, but that's not really the point of this game, and dying is not really a thing too, not in the sense of getting stomped by an enemy anyway. When you fall into the water, your run starts all over again. I've had it happen to me a few times, but I never really cared because I was relaxed the entire time, which is what Himno is at the end of the day, a relaxing game. Himno does a great job of being a free indie platformer that sets a goal to de-stress the player in a procedurally generated world with infinite layouts, good movements, and great use of pixel art graphics and responsive music. Now, the developer does have an early access successor to this game called The Silent Melody, which is a fully realized version of this game, which this game in comparison feels like a demo, a proof of concept for something greater to take its place. But that doesn't negate the effect that the first Himno game has for first-time players, that wants something that is casual in every sense of the word and isn't going to turn into an esports game all of a sudden. Its efforts to be a chill and relaxing game feels genuine because it's rooted into the developer's own personal feelings and desires during the development of this game, and it succeeds on being what it was meant to be, and it's all for free as well. If you want something that is simple after a long and hard day, then you really can't go wrong with this one. You may get a solid hour or maybe more, but it can vary between players. As for me, it's something I can come back to in between phases, but not something that I dedicate my life to. All in all though, it's a pretty solid peaceful platformer that's worth checking out. Thank you for watching.